Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to wrap some stairs in VVivid's new Indestructible Vinyl Wrap. You see I have a roll out here already cut out to place on this. I've already done one stair just for some practice here. You can see that it is the black color. It also comes in gray. Super easy to apply, super quick. So I wanted to show you how to do this and finish up the remaining parts of my stairs. This is just the stairs on the landing into my garage. It's just standard wood stairs with some gray paint on it. And so I'll transform it from something that looks like this into basically something that looks like this. Super cool stuff. This vinyl wrap is extremely durable, super thick, has a kind of a rock texture. Actually looks like no-slip tape when it's been applied to a stair like this. Anyway, so I'll do a quick interlude here on some of the durability and properties of this vinyl, and then we'll get to showing you how to wrap this. Alright guys, so I wanted to demonstrate some of the durability properties of this indestructible film. It is a super thick film right off the bat. I peeled a little corner off here, and hopefully this will focus well. But if it focuses, you'll see that this vinyl is actually quite thick for vinyl, if anybody's used vinyl wrap before. This is sold as an automotive vinyl wrap, but I've found that it has multiple different purposes that you can use it for. But anyway, so this is a thick vinyl compared to this piece of regular automotive vinyl, which is quite thin compared to this. Try to get this to focus for you guys. There we go. Let's see if I can get this guy in here. So I know it's a little hard to see, but maybe that does a better job right there. The indestructible vinyl is noticeably thicker and heavier than regular automotive vinyl. One of the great characteristics that I found out about it is it's extremely abrasion resistant. And so to test that, I'll demonstrate that here in just a second. I have wrapped part of my countertop here in the indestructible vinyl. And so I'll do a couple of abrasion tests where I'll take, say, for example, this screwdriver. Okay, running it through a bunch of times. Nothing. And then after all this, I'll peel this off so you can see that the countertop is completely undamaged. All right, and so let's take a pen, right? Now I didn't point the point out, but you can see it's denting the vinyl right here where I ran the pen, and so you can see I'm pressing pretty hard when I do this. Oops, in fact I just broke the pen doing that. So you can see that's really tough, and so imagine adding this nice thick super durable layer on say for example your car. And so let's take some scissors here, right? Doing the same thing. You can see that I'm pressing pretty hard and indenting the vinyl, right? Now, if let's say you did have this on your car, and somebody happens to walk by and key your car, right? So with this stuff being so thick and so durable, you get a nice tough layer of protection for your car. And so what I'll do next is, let me put the tripod down here. I will peel off the vinyl from my countertop. And again, this is automotive vinyl, so it's meant to be repositionable and removable. Peel this off. And you can see, I'll show you here, no damage through the vinyl. You might see a little bit of denting there, right? But it did not puncture or penetrate the vinyl when scratching the vinyl pieces there. And I know this is a dark countertop, but with a lot of patterning in it, but there is no scratches or abrasions or the like on there. All right, and so how about this? Let's look at another durability test here. And so you can see I've got this mounted here on my countertop and the lower countertop, and then it's hollow behind it. There's nothing back here, right? So one of the great durability pieces to this is it does offer some puncture resistance. So I'm not going to stab it super hard, but look, this is a flathead screwdriver, and you can see I'm pushing in pretty good, and it's not puncturing through. Could I puncture through it? Of course, because there's nothing behind this holding it. But you can see that I'm pushing pretty decently and it is not puncturing through. Some scissor tips. This is just the blunt slightly rounded, so same deal. You can see I'm pushing through. Could I stab through it? Of course, yes. And I'm pushing through so hard that I'm actually lifting the vinyl off of the base there. So I'll reapply it. Right, and so this does have and offer some puncture resistance as well, as you saw on the other piece of vinyl where the key and the so speaking of key, did not puncture through the vinyl. So this vinyl is it's pretty tough, it's pretty durable, offers a pretty good amount of protection as a skin. Now, will it stop something from denting, say like your car, or you know, from puncturing it? Because I'll show you, if I stab this really hard, it's gonna go through. But you heard it pop just like that. I mean, you got to stab it pretty hard to puncture it. So will it stop something that's gonna puncture your car, for example, and puncture the metal? Absolutely not. This is a vinyl wrap skin, but it does add what seems to be a pretty good and pretty decent amount of durability protection, particularly in the abrasion resistance and minor puncture type of realm. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a good idea of the durability test for this VVivid Indestructible wrap. Alright, so before we get started, let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need for this job. You see here I have a heat gun for my heat source so that I can help mold it around these corners here and also heat the vinyl surface to make sure that I didn't miss any air bubbles. You're going to need some sort of application squeegee. You can see here I have just a standard 3M gold squeegee. One side I do have a felt buffer on it, the other side I do have just this hard edge unprotected. I did have some stuff on there, but I've taken it off as I've been applying this. You can see how rough this material is. It actually is kind of sanded down the hard edge of my squeegee a little bit. You're going to need some sort of cutting tool. This is just a utility knife with 30 degrees snap-off blades. This knife is an Alpha brand. The other knife I do have is a VVivid body. That's just the body. The blades themselves are 30 degrees. I believe I'm using NT cutters, but you can also use Alphas. I also just have my personal kit here, measuring tape, extra micro squeegees, etc., wrap glove. Of course, you're going to need material here. What I did was I cut out the material already to size. So from here, wrapping down and over is about 12.5 inches. So I've made this about 13 inches in height so that I can have a little bit of overlap over the front of the face here and then trim it off at the bottom there. Other things you're going to need is, because this is the steps into my garage, you're going to have to clean it off first. So I just got my vacuum ready to vacuum it off. Vacuum up any dirt, dust, debris, etc., etc. And then you're going to need some sort of cleaning solution. Here I just have a mixture of isopropyl alcohol. It's a 70% to 30%, so 70% of this volume is alcohol at 99% alcohol, and then the other remaining 30% is water. So just a 70-30 mix of alcohol and water. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get the process started by cleaning off. All right, guys, before we get started on the actual project itself, first things first, making sure that you've cleaned off the surface really well. You can see I'm taking my vacuum and just really vacuuming it down to get any dirt, debris, dust, etc. off of that. Next thing I'm doing here is I'm taking my isopropyl alcohol wipe and I'm wiping everything down, and that will help eliminate any of the oils, greases, residues, dirt that's been on there. And you'll see that I'm taking my time doing this. I have the video sped up, of course, but I'm cleaning this surfaces at least twice. Is it going to be 100%? Absolutely not, because these are old, worn stairs, but get it as clean as you possibly can. Again, this is using isopropyl alcohol. Once you've got everything cleaned up, next thing to do is go ahead and get this started. You can see that I've cut out a piece that is pretty close to size. I've cut the back side as straight as possible, assuming that the back side of the stairs where it meets the face of the stair will be square. And once I've got that measured out, what I'm going to do is I am going to peel off a little bit of the backing paper. Once I got it measured out and in place, I'm going to peel off some of this backing paper, cut off some of the excess paper here, and then I'm going to lay it down. And why I'm doing that is because I am trying to pin basically get this set up for application. So you can see I'm trying to make sure that I lay it down properly so that the back side is flush against the back edge of the stairs there. And then take my squeegee on the hard edge and then lay that down nice and firm, press it down nice and firm. If you're not wearing a glove, be careful. If you rub your knuckles against this stuff while you're squeegeeing, this is like super rough sandpaper-like material, so you'll probably burn the skin off of your knuckles there. Once I've got that laid down really well, you can see I'm just rolling it up, and I'm going to then grab the backing paper and start peeling it out, rolling it down. As you can see, just basically rolling it out. That way I can try to control it and feed it out along so it stays nice and flush against the back side of the stair there. Once I've got it laid out, I'm just taking my squeegee and with the hard edge, laying that down, pressing very hard on the vinyl, and then overlapping my strokes. So you can see I'm going towards the back side there. All right, so I've reached the end, making sure I got everything squared away as far as laid down properly. Go over it 1 or 2 more times here. Make sure that edge along the back side is pressed down very well, and that there are no air bubbles trapped underneath of that. Now I'm taking a second to get my heat gun and plug it in. I forgot to plug it in before I got started here. So just plugging it in, and then I'm going to heat on high the front edge where it rolls over the step. And the reason I'm doing that is because one, to relax the film so that it rolls over the edge of the stair face there, or the stair edge, excuse me, and 2, soften the vinyl to make it more compliant and malleable to roll around that. Also keep in mind, this is a super thick vinyl, about 20 times thicker than standard car wrapping vinyl. And so this thing takes a ton of heat and can take a ton of heat. And so basically I'm heating it up, to soften it up to mold it around, but also working it so that I can roll it and press it in, get any air bubbles out of there. And then you're going to see I'm just going to basically use the palm of my hand to roll it over the edge. Using my hand now as a squeegee, and I'm overlapping the strokes there, and then going back and forth, going back over it again 1 more time. Once I've got it basically over the edge of the face, over the edge there, I'm rolling the underneath side of it as well, again with my palm. When I was touching this vinyl, it was pretty warm, so that's almost hot to the touch, practically hot to the touch, but not burning. So that's how much heat on high with my heat gun that I had applied into that film. So that heat gun, I think, puts out 1100 degree Fahrenheit heat. So when you do that, though, move the heat gun around. Don't keep it concentrated in one place for more than half a second at most, because even though this is a thicker vinyl, it is still vinyl, and extreme heat at over 1000 degrees Fahrenheit will melt the vinyl. Depending on what your application, you may want to melt it a little bit onto that surface so that you know for sure it will stay in place. Now what I'm doing here is I'm taking the heat gun and I'm just hitting the main surface again where I laid down the vinyl initially, and I'm looking for any air bubbles that I might have missed. Also, VVivid is a heat activated adhesive, or their adhesive is heat activated, so I'm also activating the heat so it bonds a little bit harder to the substrate. Once I've got that all set, just take my knife, and then basically I'm going to use the side of the blade against the side of that step and trace, basically just use that as my cut line to cut off the excess. You can see I've got about 3/4 of an inch, maybe half, a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch of excess. I probably could have cut the piece a little bit smaller, but basically, again, just using my 30-degree snap-off blade to trim off the excess. Then I'm going to do the other side as well. There's a small gap there, probably only about 1/8 of an inch of gap. So I'm just trimming that off so it's nice and clean and nice and tight, making sure that I cut around the corner front side, or around the rounded front side there as well, trimming that piece off. You can see that tiny little, that very thin sliver there. Again, it was maybe about 1/8 of an inch wide. So once I've trimmed everything off, I'm just going to go over everything again with heat. I'm just testing it there real quick to see how hot it got. Again, I'm running it on high, just making sure that I got everything set. I'm particularly hitting the edges a lot to make sure that they are sealed down. And so where I cut, I was giving it some heat so that it seals down really nicely, using my squeegee to help me out there. And then again, on the front face of the step there, particularly a little bit underneath where the edge meets, is where I was heating. Again, I have it on high because this vinyl takes a ton of heat, or can take a ton of heat. So that stair is wrapped. And all right, guys, for the last stair here, sorry, I thought I was recording and I had already started the process here, as you can see, but it's essentially the same thing as before. Basically, I laid it down just like I did on that other stair that I showed you. Now I have a little bit of excess on the back, and the reason being is because on the left side of the stair, there's a little gap there that some of the vinyl can go wrap around the frame of the door there. So on the front side there, I was doing as I did on the front step, heating the front edge very well so that it relaxes and then conforms easily. On the back side there, all I did was push the vinyl all the way up to the edge, made sure I had my squeegee hard edge, and just really set it against the edge there and create a good cut line that I can then use my knife to cut in the gap there. As you see in the back side there, there's a little bit of a sliver right there. What I did was I had the vinyl facing up vertically on that wood frame there, and then just cut straight down until it hit the stair face, and then drop that piece in the back. And then again on the edges, trimmed off those edges. And guys, that's basically it. Now I'm just going over everything again with heat. And so this stair is also wrapped. Alright guys, so hopefully you saw in the video that this is a pretty easy process to do. A couple tips when doing this is use a lot of heat, in particular to get around some of these curves here and such, but also to set the vinyl. VVivid is their adhesive is a heat activated adhesive, so once you heat it, giving it a good post heat, it helps the adhesive bond and cure to whatever substrate or surface that you're applying this to. The other thing is make sure that you cut out pieces that are not exactly to size, but pretty close to size. Doing that ahead of time, as you saw, really makes the installation process, in this particular case, very quick. It only took like minutes per stair to do, simply because I had the pieces basically cut the size. Yes, I did have to trim on the edges here because I did have a little bit of overlap, but that's super easy. Also make sure, another tip, that your blade is super sharp. Snap off a new blade after making cuts with this stuff, because it is very thick, very, very coarse. And so it's going to be, with this particular vinyl, I can see it being extremely easy to dull your blade very quickly, where then you try to cut and then you're not slicing through, and then you're just creating jagged edges and the like. Alright guys, so hope you found this video to be useful and helpful, entertaining to some degree, and instructive. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, guys. Thanks a lot.